Hey everybody, Quantum here with some more meta gameplay for you. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Blue Steel going up against Ruby Amethyst while going second. We also have a matchup against Amber Emerald Discard, which in my opinion is a very low-key underrated deck right now. I do think it's pretty strong, but we'll take a look at that match. And then the last match I have is another Emerald Amethyst meta matchup. So if you're planning on playing Blue Steel, hopefully this can give you some good insights into kind of how some of the interactions work between these other decks. To start off though, the opponent goes first and plays a Magic Broom. So in this build, I was using smashes and stuff. I've since updated the deck list a little bit, but I think this version is still very good. There's still a lot of deck lists that are, to this day, you know, as of, what is it, July 13th, a Saturday, that are still using smash and stuff. But we're going to opt to play Popsicle on turn 1. The opponent plays a Flynn Rider on 2, and then banishes their Broom in order to draw a card. So Ruby Amethyst sitting on 5 cards. We're going to drop a Smee on turn 2. Now, another turn 2 card that has been teched into Blue Steel that was not played in the beginning is Argus, and I do think that is a very strong option. I play 2 in my build now, but it's just additional an additional 2-drop in addition to Smee that you could put down. That's a 4 strength character that's really good into the Ruby Amethyst matchup because it can take out the Sisu 3-drop as well as, you know, threaten the castle pretty well. Castle plus Argus plus a Smee takes out castle, for example. Anyways, on 3, the opponent drops the Maleficent to draw a card. Thankfully, you know, this Smee, or not Smee, geez, the Flynn Rider is not triggering, so we're still on 0 lore. The opponent does have the ability, though, to sing friends if they have it, but thanks to us putting down that Fishbone Quill, we are able to kind of claw back some advantage with the, you know, going second, or by going second, we're able to kind of get ahead on ink. So now we are going to be on 5 ink before the opponent. We start off by playing a Hero to pop the Fortisphere. So just another small little detail, you always want to pop Fortisphere first because Popsicle is technically the better item in order to heal. But there are instances where the Fortisphere Bodyguard activation can come in handy. So off of the second Popsicle here, we're going to get another 1 jump ahead. So we opt to cast both. You know, I think we casted one and we sung one there, and then pass turn. The opponent does gain off of the Sisu, unfortunately. They opt to sing with the Sisu there, which is interesting, instead of the Maleficent for the front on the other side. But they do drop a Queen's Castle, and they're going to move their Flynn Rider and use their Maleficent to take out the Smee. So that's why they sung Friends with the Sisu instead of the Maleficent, because they were planning to use the Maleficent to take out my Smee. So smart play by the opponent there. Anyways, we're going to start by questing with the Hiram to draw 2. And we're going to opt to smash the Flynn Rider, so we don't have to worry about that gain 3, but they do still have a very healthy Queen's Castle up that we have to worry about here. We're going to go ahead and drop double Smee, so reducing our hand size even further here. And we're not going to ink the Lucky Dime. I don't even think we inked for turn there because we value all 3 of these cards in our hand because we are anticipating that the opponent probably has a Maui that's going to drop and take out our Hiram, and sure enough, that's exactly what they do. So that's why I opted to keep the Hiram in my hand and not play it or ink it at this time. Or, you know, I could have played it, but I didn't want to ink it right now. They move the Maui to the castle and then pass turn. So we're going to start with a Hiram to banish the Popsicle and draw 2. We do have an out to the castle in throwing 1 Smee into it and then inking something and playing the Along Came Zeus. We're going to ink the Fishbone Quill, and my guess is we probably Fishbone the Grab Your Swords. There probably isn't much sense. Okay, we're going to take out our own Smee. That's interesting. I guess we're setting up for a Grab Your Swords next turn because this is kind of risky trying to set up for next turn. Like if I look at this, like I probably would have been better off just questing because the Maui's going to have to challenge, right? Unless they have another way to out or bounce the Maui or sing with the Maui. And then I guess, you know, this puts them on your Sisu. I don't know, like your Sisu's still going to quest regardless, right? So okay, they opt not to quest with it. Wow, so they want to keep it up because they have the second Flynn. So that actually worked out for me. Probably a misplay, though, looking back at it. I probably was better off just double questing there. But the opponent is very far ahead. Thankfully, this Grab Your Swords comes in super clutch. So not using it as ink for the Fishbone Quill and keeping it in hand, super heads-up play by me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking back at that. I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead and ink that you know, air quotes, useless Grab Your Swords, but it turned out to be super clutch here. Now the opponent is only on 1 card after we were able to board wipe them. They were on a Jim Hawkins tech here, but they do have, unfortunately, another Maui. But we do have a 3rd Hiram, and at this point, we don't want to be casting a whole new world. So we just have a Maleficent and a Maui to deal with. The opponent has no cards in hand. They can only quest with the Maleficent despite them being on 10 lore. So this actually doesn't look too bad. The Hiram coming down, drawing 2 here is also very strong. We're going to opt to develop a Bell, which means we could double ink, but inking the Tinkerbell here to play the Fortisphere most likely. Okay, draw into a Let It Go, which I don't want to sing probably. Because again, this Maui doesn't do anything. They're going to go ahead and quest with the Maleficent. I hope they didn't draw a Fox. Okay, of course they drew Fox. So that means they're going to be able to bounce Maleficent, replay to draw a card. Classic set 2 stuff there. And then just pass turn. So they probably drew, like, my guess is like a Be Prepared or something, because they just passed immediately upon the draw. So I do have to be very aware of, you know, potentially a board wipe coming in. We're going to start off by questing with the Hiram, so our sequencing matters here. Make sure you see all of your options, so draw your cards first before you start executing. We ink one of the 3 Tamatoas that we have, and is it time to dime? They got 2 questing power on board. They don't have a goat cycle set up to potentially win the game. They could have a goat in hand or Be Prepared, but I'm going to opt to, okay, dime the Bell, and I should probably quest with the Bell, or do I leave? Okay, I guess that's okay. That forces them on. You have to have exactly like, oh my gosh, I just got bodied by 2 locations. I was putting them on, you know, that puts them on, you have to have like Madame Medusa or something. But who needs that when you have a friggin' double locations that'll get you to 14? Thankfully, this Diamond Quest would get us to 18. However, they can quest for 2. They go to 19 actually, because they'll gain 4, which will put them at 17 off the 2 locations, and then quest for 2 with Maleficent and Fox puts them at 19. So I lose to a top deck goat. That's the only thing I lose to. So I'm just going to quest with the Bell and probably drop the Cogsworth is probably the safest, but knowing my stupid brain, I probably... Okay, I'm going for a Let It Go on these. Okay, preventing the double card draw. That makes sense. We're going to be able to ink again off the Bell. Wow, this sequencing, wow, really heads up play by me. Looking back at it, I don't know why I can't even analyze that looking back at it, but in the moment, thankfully, at least I knew what I was doing. So prevent the double card draw, which lowers the chance that they draw go. Oh my gosh, they draw the Queen of Hearts. Are you kidding? Which gives them a card draw, so they could technically still draw goat, but because I let it go the Fox, they can't win off the goat. Now, okay, now they definitely can't cast goat now. So the Cogsworth was the play to make sure that they couldn't like Medusa it or something. And thankfully, we're able to take this one here, dropping a Tamatoa. I mean, I just need to dime or quest with the Cogsworth to win, but just seeing my draws, I guess, playing it out. I'm not BMing, but I know it like looks that way. So he ends up just scooping. So, you know, it is what it is. But in this next match, we're going up against Amber Emerald. And our opening hand here is actually pretty good. We put back the Ariel for sure, and probably... Okay, we keep the Bell as an inkable, I guess. We got double Hiram, double items, no whole new world, but that's fine because Amber Emerald will play like Ursula and like Ursula Deceiver, the 2-drop to rip a song, as well as Bare Necessities. So the Bare Necessities here will hurt because they can rip the items out of my hand, but you know, there's not much I can do about that. Like, I'm going to be able to play one, and one might get ripped out of my hand if they want to do that on 2. But if they have the Ursula Deceiver, it's much more of a better play to play Ursula Deceiver on 2 than to just hardcast the Bare Necessities, unless they have a Cinderella for turn 1, in which case they can sing it. So they're on the play, so we're going second once again. Oh, I ink the Fortisphere and play the Popsicle, trying to play around the turn 2 Bare Necessities, but the Popsicle draws me into another Fortisphere. So you can argue that that was a little bit of a misplay. In this particular matchup, it is hard to say what's actually strong, because this deck can be built a number of different ways. The Amber Emerald. So this person is on a Bucky and Queen build. I would not build mine this way personally. But we draw a Boom here, which is actually really nice to go, or if the opponent has the turn 3 Diablo. We ink the Bell, and it's probably worth putting the Smee on board here. The Cogsworth would normally be really strong in this match. The issue is it gets put to the bottom of the deck by an Under the Sea, which is like an insanely powerful card in this Amber Emerald deck. And one of the reasons why I'm a huge fan of the Amber Emerald color, because if you're able to like shift Kita, reduce everything by 3, everything on the board, even a Tamatoa, would go back to the bottom of the deck. And if you shifted the Kita, you can sing for 5, right? Because that Under the Sea card is a sing together. So that Kita will represent a 5 cost for the sing together, and then you just need like anything else on board basically. So the Shift Pegasus here on 3 allows them to have their Bucky to get evasive, and they're going to be able to quest with both. and they're going to opt, instead of questing, to sing Bippity Boppity Boo to reduce my hand even further. We're totally okay with this because we have double Hiram in hand. They do get the Pegasus 1-drop back to hand, which is pretty strong because it's representative of ink for them next turn, and the Bippity Boppity Boo allows them to double trigger the Bucky. We're going to go ahead and draw a Grammatala here. We're going to start off with the Fortisphere, so the sequencing matters because I don't really have another like turn 3 play other than playing that Fortisphere. So you could argue discarding one of the Hirams might have been better because I could have played the Smee on this turn. However, against discard decks, you do need to play very carefully, and this is why this deck is so frustrating to play against, and why I understand why people hate it. But you have to play a little bit more passively. You don't want to dump your hand, because I've said this many times before, but Lorcana is a game of negative card advantage, right? Like most card games. You draw one card a turn, but you're inking a card and likely playing a card every turn. So you're reducing your hand size by 1 every turn, right? You're only able to replace one card for your draw for turn. So unless you have another draw engine, like, you're naturally going to run out of cards. And if you're facing up against a discard deck, the more interactions that you're playing in a turn, right, the faster your hand is going to be depleted, making you more susceptible to getting choked out against discard decks. And that's how people usually lose against discard. You have to know what to prioritize, and in this case, keeping my card draw options open is very important. So in this scenario, I kind of want to keep the Baboom for a potential Diablo again. So I'm going to opt to ink the Fortisphere and go ahead and drop Hiram to pop that Fortisphere on field and draw 2. The smash here is very strong, but probably, well, actually in this matchup, I was going to say it's maybe better as ink, but because both the Ariel, which is representative of a 5-cost singer, and the Pegasus, which is also a 5-cost singer, is a big threat, because if the opponent, there's the Diablo as expected, but if the opponent did have an Under the Sea, it would put my Hiram to the bottom of the deck. Thankfully, I have the second Hiram in hand. So, yeah, discarding the Smee on that one turn and not discarding one of my 2 Hirams was definitely the right play, in my opinion. I need as many card draw options as possible. So I don't have a whole new world, but in this particular matchup, you definitely don't want to have it in your hand. You want to be able to draw into it when you can play it, because otherwise you are very susceptible to getting it ripped out of your hand with the Bare Necessities or Ursula Deceiver, like I mentioned. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and quest with the Hiram. We are very close to popping this Tinkerbell, which is very, very strong, into the discard deck. It would instantly take out the Bucky and represent huge momentum swings if they do end up exerting non-evasive characters. And then to follow up with, we're going to not only Baboom the Diablo, we're also going to smash the Pegasus. So you can see these steel cards really coming in super clutch in this matchup here, being able to deal with the evasives, and that's what they're here for. They're here to deal with the Emerald deck because, you know, the Diablo is so strong in this meta right now. Thankfully, the Ursula Deceiver comes down and hits nothing. We draw the 1 jump right on time, but I may not want to use it to sing. I may have to hardcast it or just use it on a Fishbone if I get Fishbone. This is risky though. I'm going to end up... Okay, I don't end up doing it, do I? Okay, this is a mistake, right? Oh, no, it's technically not a mistake. I think I'm debating, do I drop the Tinkerbell this turn, or do I go for the card draw? I think that's what I'm debating in this moment. My Smee is going to get banished if I exert it, because I'm not going to heal it with a Popsicle, because if I play Popsicle, I'm definitely using it to draw 2. So I'm in an interesting position here. The Smee is also protected right now from an Under the Sea. The opponent does have 8 singing power on board, but they don't want to exert their Bucky, obviously. The last 2 cards in their hand are curious to me. Like, I wonder what they could be on. They are on 4 ink, and they only played a 2-cost character last turn. So you can see I'm debating quite heavily here on what to do. And what I have, like, in hindsight, I think going for the Hiram draw here is probably better, because they're not threatening anything for, like, lore. Like, they're on 3 lore. If they quest, is not a big deal. I guess what I have to really worry about is if they have a very powerful song to sing with the Ariel. But again, on an Amber Emerald, it's not like they're going to have a huge disruption spell. Like, at best, the Under the Sea is what's going to hurt me. I end up inking the Tinkerbell and then dropping a Cogsworth, and then I do end up singing the 1 jump because I ended up drawing into that Cogsworth. So you can see there that deliberation on what to do paid off. I do have the second Tinkerbell, which is really strong here. They do drop an Ursula Deceiver of All, which is really bad for me because this potentially represents discard 2 off of a Sung Sudden Chill. They do opt to quest with their Ursula, going to 4 lore, and then they pass turn. And this draw of the Baboom here is actually really clutch because it's going to allow me to card cast the Tinkerbell and then Baboom to finish off the Ursula Deceiver of All, which is going to prevent them, not only take out the Bucky, but prevent them from potentially double singing a Sudden Chill. So I have 1 card left in hand, and I guess it doesn't really matter if the aerial is banished or discarded from my hand, because this Cogsworth on board here just put in so much work, saving my Smee, getting me the extra ink with the 1 jump, and now taking out that Ursula Deceiver, because I don't take any damage because of the resist 1. So living on a prayer, or living on a thread of string here, the Smee is with the 2 damage. They do indeed have the Bruno, probably going to pop back the Tinkerbell, and they do discard the aerial, and at this point that is just a GG. And to top it all off, we top decked a Tamatoa, which is super strong. You could argue that I should have played the Tamatoa there, but I think reestablishing the Tinkerbell, I guess it doesn't really matter because I'm on 14 lore, right? So yeah, just paying attention to the game state. You don't always need to be in 100% control mode. The Tamatoa is kind of overkill. If it does get discarded, it's fine. But playing the Tamatoa last turn would have been nice, because it means I could have got back a Popsicle, but then what do? Like, get back Popsicle, ink the Tinkerbell, quest with Hiram, after playing the Popsicle. In the end, it ends up working out. We draw yet another Tinkerbell here. The Hiram is going to quest, pop the Popsicle. And Blue Steel, one of the reasons I love it is it is very capable of outplaying discard here, as you can tell. The opponent knows it's over and they scoop it up. Let's move on to the final match, which is Emerald Amethyst. So one of the reasons I really like Blue Steel is for its versatility and ability to adapt to different matchups. So this is a non-standard version of Emerald Amethyst that you're going to see me go up against here. And the nice thing is you can kind of switch from a ramp control oriented strategy against the more meta decks like Ruby Amethyst, Ruby Sapphire that you've seen in either my other previous video or the meta decks we're facing in this video here. And you're able to adjust to more of a steel-based removal strategy to a certain extent, valuing things like Tinkerbell, for example, Smash, Babooms, Fire the Cannons if you're on those, so on and so forth, in the matchups where they need to be prioritized. So here you can see the top deck Cogsworth goes instantly into the Inkwell, because in this particular matchup, we're not really looking to get any benefit off Cogsworth, whereas, against other steel decks, Cogsworth is like priority 1 in order to develop because it's such a good anti-steel card. But we basically are looking to ramp into this Tinkerbell as quickly as possible here. We're not anticipating that the opponent is on a discard build. We are anticipating that they're on an aggro build. And sure enough, you can see from some of the cards that they've been playing, like the set 1 Cheshire Cat is not something you really see anymore. But on turn 3, we weren't planning to ink for turn. We were planning to just play Fishbone Quill to ink the 1 jump. But drawing into this Baboom here, you can see me debate because, Baboom would seem really good into an aggro matchup, but again, we're so focused on, no, we're just going to go for our original game plan, which is getting these Tinkerbells on board because they basically just shut down aggro, right? Now, unfortunately, the Cheshire Cat here actually does amazing work against my deck and probably a lot of other decks. So I don't think it's an option that should be overlooked for aggro strategies, especially budget aggro strategies, which is maybe what this opponent was on, because it looks like a lot of these cards that they were playing should be very cheap to play. And the opponent actually gets close to winning the game despite being on the draw, right? So on the play, it could have been a little scary to face up against a deck like this. But after they see the Tinkerbell come down, they're going to be able to play out their X and 1 strength or toughness characters a little bit more comfortably, thinking that the threat is behind them with only 1 card left in hand. But again, keeping that Tinkerbell, knowing the value that it represents in the aggro matchup, you can see here we're able to get insane value off the double Tinkerbell drop. The Pua goes back into the deck, but we take care of the Maleficent and the Enchantress. Now, like I was mentioning, this Cheshire Cat is a problem because unless I can remove it with an action or my Tinkerbell damage, it's going to continue to quest unless I want to lose one of my own Tinkerbells. They drop a Cusco on 5 here, which again just represents removal for my Tinkerbell. So unless I want to lose both of my Tinkerbells now, they're questing for 5 a turn, which is out racing me, right? And I have nothing in hand. I haven't seen a Hiram. I do see a Tamatoa here, but I can't play it yet. I need to draw an Inkable. Well, actually, I can draw anything because I have a Fishbone Quill. The opponent, I think, realizes here that they might have been in a little bit of trouble, so they end up playing their bounce on their Cheshire Cat after they quest with it. Probably just saying to themselves, listen, I just value replaying my cards in a ready state, because if they left the Tinkerbell or the Cheshire Cat exerted, I could have sacrificed one of my Tinkerbells into it and deal 2 damage to the Pua, which would have cleared it off the field, leaving them with only a Cusco. And while I would have probably challenge my other Tinkerbell into the Cusco, losing it as well, it would clear my board, but it would also put the opponent on no resources and completely in top deck mode. So while the Emerald Amethyst strategy that this opponent was employing was pretty effective, in getting them ahead despite being on the draw, the real bane of aggro decks, in my opinion, and this is why they're not really widely played in the meta, is simply that, on the draw, they are significantly weaker than they are on the play. Because on the play, you could argue that this opponent might have been able to do a little bit better against me here. We're going to just pop a Popsicle for no reason, though, in order to get it back when we play our Tamatoa, and now we're easily going to outpace the opponent in terms of questing power. They top deck an Enchantress, but they realize that even if they quest with both things going to 14, the Tinkerbell taking out the Pua or the Cheshire Cat will take out another threat along with it, and then my Tamatoa will easily outrace them to game. So on screen here is my most updated deck list as of Saturday, July 13th. So hopefully you enjoyed these videos. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you've made it this far, thank you again for watching, and drop a like on the video if you do appreciate it. Thank you again. Quantum is out.